Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Dondelinger. I am a senior developer advocate for Unity, focusing on player engagement and microtransaction. And today I'm going to be speaking to you about protecting your players through the use of good monetization design. Let's get started. Here's a quick look at the agenda for this presentation. I'm going to start with an intro about myself, going over my history in the games industry and what I'm doing currently with Unity. Then I'll dive into what it means to be protecting your players. Then followed that, I'll go into the microtransaction design principles, some of the key points that I think all designers and dev teams should look at and follow when thinking about microtransaction. I'll then show how Unity can help you achieve these goals, and then I'll just do a short wrap up. So let's get started. First off, as I said, my name is Matt Dondelinger. I am a senior developer advocate, and previous to this, I spent 14 years in the video game industry. Most of that was spent as a microtransaction designer. What that means is basically I was in charge of designing, implementing, and maintaining forms of microtransactions for games such as Star Wars: The Old Republic, Breach, Fallout 76. I began in QA, worked my way up into design, and that has been my major focus: is learning how to do microtransaction well and in a way that feels good to players. Then I have joined up with Unity right now, and currently I'm a developer advocate. What that means is my job is to work with groups, other developers, students, any groups who are interested in using Unity or use Unity currently, and showing them the latest that Unity has to offer in terms of microtransaction and what it has to offer in terms of player engagement. But also, I take feedback from developers and people using these tools and give it to Unity itself so we can improve it and make it better. And let's start by defining what I mean by protecting players. What I mean by this is you want to protect your players from being exploited. Microtransaction is becoming huge in the video game industry, both in the mobile space and in AAA games, consoles, PC, but you need to do it in the right way. And the way to do that is to protect your players, protect them from being exploited, which means don't make them feel like they're being taken advantage of or their purchases aren't worthwhile. You want to constantly be making decisions with your microtransaction with the players in mind. So many of us have played games where microtransaction has felt weird or uncomfortable. And this probably was because a lot of those decisions weren't made from a player's perspective. You need to think what your players are going to do with this microtransaction, how they're going to feel about it, what it's going to be like for them to use it on a day-to-day basis. With all this in mind, you want to focus on the players, but you don't want to give it all away. We are all, if you're making games as a business, you need to make money to stay open. So that's part of it, is you want to make sure your players aren't exploited, that you're thinking about your players, but you also need to think about the company. So you want to make sure that you're still making money while protecting your players. Next is sort of dive in a little bit more about exactly what you're protecting. And I say you're protecting the players from being exploited, but what does that really mean? First, it means you want to protect the player's perceived value. So anyone who plays a game has some amount of value in it. Like if you like a game and you've been playing it for a long time, you have a high value in it. If you haven't been playing it for long, maybe less. With good microtransaction, you're protecting the player's value. So you're making the player feel like this is a game worthwhile. My spending money in the game means something. It has value. It's something I want to do. That's what you want to protect. You also want to protect a consistent experience. You don't want to constantly be changing how you monetize your game or what you monetize. It will confuse the player, could lead them to be concerned, like, well, if the dev team is constantly changing this, maybe there's something wrong with the game, or maybe there's something wrong with the dev team. You want to make sure that players know that if they spend money, they're spending it on this type of reward or part of the game, and it will be consistent. And again, it will keep that value. If it's constantly changing, they may not see the value in it, but if it's consistent, they will always see the value in it. Next, you're protecting player options. Some players love to spend for microtransactions. Some players love to spend lots of money on lots of things. They want to have everything. Other players, they don't want to spend anything. You want to make sure that the players have the choice. You don't want to put your game behind a paywall. You don't want to force the player to only spend money or not give them an option to spend enough money. If you only have two things that a player can spend money on, even if they want to spend more, they won't be able to. So you want to give players and protect that choice. After talking about that, I want to give a sort of an example of a scenario I've had to deal with and where all of these things sort of come into play. We have an MMO, so like World of Warcraft, EverQuest, Final Fantasy. Was a subscription service, and now it's going free to play. To do that, you have to change the player experience. So you won't be able to give everything to the players if they pay a subscription. You'll need to figure out ways to have microtransaction without ruining the experience for all the other players. And this is a sort of risk reward plan. Like, well, we could say that a player has to spend money to turn in a completed quest. And that might get you some money, but there's a risk of alienating a lot of players because it feels very gougy, like that you're taking advantage of the player's goodwill. So again, you want to protect the player experience. You want to protect the player by changing this game in a way that makes it feel valuable and is still valuable to the company, but doesn't exploit them. And again, this is sort of a scenario I've had to deal with, and you can think about this as I talk more about the microtransaction design principles. So as I said, these are the 4 main microtransaction design principles that I think every designer and every dev team should think about when they're creating a game that has microtransaction in it. First is you plan things early. Don't wait till the last minute, plan it early. Next is compare and contrast. So look at other games, look at other companies, and see what they're doing, build from that. Next is be flexible. Things are changing, you want to be flexible. And next is to be constantly adapting, so you always want to adapt. I'm going to delve a little bit more into each of these. This is just the 4 key ones. So plan things early. As with everything in games, and to some extent life, you want to plan early. You want to figure out how you're going to monetize your game. Is it going to be loot boxes? Is it going to be a battle pass? Is it going to be just an online store? You want to figure these out, and you want to figure them out early on in the game development cycle. You don't want to wait till the last minute to do this. Also, you want to plan, you want to make sure everyone is involved. One of the pitfalls that I've seen with a lot of teams is the microtransaction is developed by one person or one team off to the side, and no one else is involved in the decision. Again, plan this early and get everyone involved so that all the teams know what the plan is. Well, how do you monetize your game, or how are you changing your monetization? You want to make sure that it's a group effort, not just one small team or one single person. And finally, nail it down. You want whatever your plan is, whatever your model is, whatever the team decides on, nail it down. Don't go into development or go to the end of the development cycle and say, I don't know what we want to do for monetization. You want to nail it down, and you want to do what your plan is. You want to make sure you have the plan going out right away. Now we move into compare and contrast. So as I said, you want to look at competitors. If you're making a first-person shooter game, you want to look at other first-person games in the market, like Warzone, Vanguard, any of those types of games. You want to see what's the competition doing? How are they monetizing? Are they using a battle pass? Are they using loot boxes? Are they using something completely different we've never heard of? There's no harm in looking at these. And you also want to look at the current market. So even if you're making a first-person shooter game, look at other genres of games. Look at trading card games. Look at mobile games. You want to get a sense of where the market is. A good example is loot boxes. Early on in my career, loot boxes were the main way to monetize. It was the best way, quickest way. You wanted to do that. Nowadays, you probably don't want to do that. There's a lot of stigma behind it, and it's just not the best way to monetize. Look at the market and see what's going on. All that being said, avoid the dreaded copy and paste. If something's working for one team, don't do exactly what they're doing. They may have issues you don't know about that they're somehow able to deal with. They may be changing how they're doing it. So if you just copy and paste it, it can lead to problems, and it may lead to you doing a monetization system that isn't best for your team. Look at your team, look at what other competitors or what the market's doing, and then make your own thing around that. Next, be flexible. As I said, things will always change. It doesn't matter how much time you spent on the plan, how awesome the plan is, how perfect you think the monetization is. Something will change. The market will change. A pandemic will happen. Something will happen that you need to be aware of, and you need to be able to adjust your plans. So have your plan nailed down, but be able to deal with the problems that come. And don't be worried about it. Embrace it. Embrace the change. Lean into it. Like if something's changing, okay, this is changing. We need to follow suit. That is a great way with your monetization design to not worry about that or not be scared of change. Lean into it. And finally, adapt. This is along the lines of being flexible, but I want to call this out. The game industry is always changing. As I said, loot boxes used to be the most amazing thing for monetization. Now they're not. You want to pay attention to what's going on and you want to adapt. You don't want to be lagging behind or ignore it in general. Like, don't be comfortable with the status quo. Like, even if your game is doing amazing, even if you are the most profitable video game ever made, look to improve it or look what's changing. Because before you know it, you can go from being the greatest game to being the laughing stock. And again, I know this sounds more like for AAA studios, but even for smaller indie or single person dev teams, this is the same thing. Be comfortable and be willing to move on and explore. Like I said, look at other games that maybe outside of the genre you're developing for. Look at other industries. Look at what other industries are doing to sort of monetize in different ways. Like, example, YouTube with their ads. It's not the most unique one, but it's another thing to look at that and see what they're doing. Maybe you can do something similar in your game. And I've been talking about these 4 pillars, but why should you do them? Why do you care? Why can't you just do whatever you want? Well, first, this will lead to a smoother launch. Following these steps of planning early, compare and contrast, flexibility, adapting, it makes a smoother launch for a new game or a smoother launch for just an update. Just having all these things sort of done improves the dev cycle for everybody involved. So it'll be a more efficient and an easier time releasing your product, whatever it is. Next, following these steps leads to player champions. And what I mean by a player champion is a player who is very invested in the game, who sees value in it, and who wants to let everybody know about it. You see these people who, they might be your friends who tell you like, oh, have you played TFT or have you played this game? It's the greatest game. Oh, it's so much fun. You should play. You want that. You want that because these players will not only encourage new players to join your game or to check it out, it'll encourage players to stay because they'll see these players who are constantly playing. So you'll have a good player base. They'll also defend you. A lot of times, a lot of games, especially in my career between Star Wars and Fallout, there's a lot of flack that we would get on social media for design decisions or players who just didn't like the way the games were going in a certain direction. If you have player champions, they'll defend you. They'll be the ones getting on Reddit or getting on Twitter saying, wait, this game is awesome. They're doing this, they're doing that. I love it. It's great. This is something you want as a game designer. You want player champions. Another thing is it extends your game's life. As I said, I worked on Star Wars The Old Republic, and Star Wars The Old Republic is just now becoming 10 years old. I remember when that game launched and everybody was saying, oh, it's failure. Oh, it's the end of the game. Oh, I can't believe it's botched. I've even seen YouTube videos where they say, oh, the game's over. It's not. And that's because they've made good decisions. It's extended the life of the game. Players are staying in the game. New players are coming into the game. So it's reducing your churn and increasing your acquisition. And this isn't even necessarily from a monetization standpoint. This is just players are staying in the game, which if the game is active, there's more players, which means there's more opportunity for them to spend in whatever your monetization scheme is. So again, it's huge to extend your game's life by having good monetization that allows players to participate and feel like they're a part of the game. Now, I've gone over these design elements, and now I want to talk a little bit of how Unity can help you. So Unity offers not only solutions, but support. So when I say solutions, Unity has a platform called Unity Gaming Services. I'm going to dive into a little bit of detail about it here, but what it does is it allows you to help you after you've launched your game. Unity obviously has the tools to help you build your game, but I'm going to focus on the Unity Gaming Services, which helps you after launch, which helps you build your player base and helps you monetize successfully. But we also offer support. So Unity has a wide range of tutorials, videos, webinars. All of these can be accessed through our website, through other websites, like YouTube. We have customer support on our website. So if you're using Unity and you really need help, there's a way to access direct customer support from us. And we also have online communities. There's a very large community of Unity developers of all skill levels and all sizes. We have large ones, small ones, and we have smaller ones. So you can find these on Reddit, Twitter, YouTube again, but we have a lot of support for you out there. So this is Unity Gaming Service, sort of pared down, but this is the basics of it. Unity Gaming Service has 4 elements. It has multiplayer, backend, analytics, player engagement, monetization, and growth. And so all of these are to help you depending on what type of game you're using, how you want to extend its life. So the multiplayer aspect, very straightforward as it sounds. Multiplayer is designed around multiplayer. So we have Vivox, which is a voice chat feature. We have Netcode, which allows you to do help you with your matchmaking or help you with your online services, setting it up. Relay, which is a peer-to-peer match similar to Among Us, where it allows you to have a host, players join that host, they can play the game. Lobby, which allows you to create your own lobby system. We have some new features that are coming out soon. Multiplayer Matchmaker. Multiplay helps you build game servers for multiplayer services. Matchmaker helps you set up a matchmaking service. These aren't currently active, but they will soon be. Again, Unity Gaming Services is a ever-growing, ever-expanding platform. Now we have the backend. So a lot of these are things to help with your code and sort of the back-end features of a game. So Cloud Code allows your code for your game to be processed on the cloud and then delivered to the clients. This reduces a lot of the stress and strain on a client's PC or phone because you can do it in the cloud, just send it to them. Similarly, Cloud Save allows to save data and information on the cloud and then give it to the players on their device, whatever that may be. Economy lets you build an in-game economy. So like for a trading card game, if you have a currency and a crafting system, Economy can help you sort of build that and also maintain it, also make adjustments as issues come up. And authentication is a way to set up accounts for your players to sort of keep back-end data and helps a little bit more with security. Analytics and player engagement. So this is one of the pillars I'm responsible for as a developer advocate. Analytics, this is, as it sounds, it helps you take analytics from your game and present it in different forms and charts and graphs that you can use and see. Analytics is key for monetization. You can see what players are buying, when they're joining the game, when they're leaving the game, how long they're staying in the game. Cloud content delivery allows you to deliver content through the cloud. So if you have a seasonal event, if you want to put Christmas stuff out, you can do that through the cloud rather than having to put up a new patch and set everything up. Remote config allows you to adjust configurations with your game through the cloud again. So if there's an issue or a setting you need to change, you can do it on the cloud, and then it gets applied to all the clients. And then last is cloud diagnostics. So this one helps with crashes and major issues. You can diagnose it through the cloud and then help fix it with the help of remote config. Again, this is the analytics side and player engagement. Player engagement is you want to keep players playing, and if they're always crashing, they can't play. So that's what cloud diagnostic is really about. And then the final one is monetization and growth. Monetization, again, is major important. Acquire is basically a tool that helps you create campaigns. So helps you schedule notifications, emails, events in the game to help you sort of keep your players engaged and keep them excited. Rather than it being just the same game over and over again, Acquire will let you set up these events to get lapsed players to come back or to keep new players interested in fresh things. In-app purchases, as it sounds, this feature helps streamline the process of players purchasing through a store. So rather than having to leave the game and go to an online store or a different website, in-app purchases, the code will let you set up a store, basically a purchasing window inside the game. So again, players stay in the game, they stay engaged, and they're more likely to spend that way. Mediation is a tool for ads. It basically helps you maximize the profitability of the ads. So if you have, it's a little complicated, but the sort of basic version of it is groups will pay you a certain amount of money to play their ads in your game. Mediation helps you see who will pay the most, and then you can select that one so that you're getting the most out of your ads. And then monetize is the ads feature. So a staple of Unity, that would be banner ads, interstitial ads, rewarded ads. That's what the monetize is. And so the monetization and growth pillar is, again, about expanding your audience, keeping them engaged, and then getting them to spend. And then I wanted to put up some useful links for everybody. So as I said, Unity has the solutions for you, so the tools to keep this going, but you may not know how to use them. These links will help you understand what it is that you need to, any trouble you may have. It's like unity.com is our main website. Learn.unity.com is a good website to help you tutorials for Unity. This is more if you're creating with Unity, if you're creating a game, this will help you sort of learn the different features and tools. And it also gamifies it a little bit. It lets you sort of see your progress and track how many tutorials you've done, what you've finished. It's all really, really fun. Forums, again, I'm sure everyone's been on forums and Unity forums. You can post anything you need to, any comments, questions, concerns you have, and figure it out. And then finally, unity.com/solutions/gaming service is the website for UGS, Unity Gaming Services. So you can go to that website and see all the information I talked about and see even some videos of basic implementation and sort of get a sense of what it is. Again, it can seem a little intimidating. I know I've sort of breezed through all the parts of UGS, but it's there to help. It's there to make your game as successful as possible and really help with everything. And so just doing a bit of wrapping up and sort of going over what I covered. First, protecting your players is a must. It is one of the most important things, in my opinion, for monetization design, but also for game design as a whole. Like, you want your players to feel important. You want them to feel like they're valued by you, because they should be. Players are what keep the games industry going. Nobody plays the games. We don't have money to make more games. And a lot of us are out of a job, and some people won't have a career to go into. So I think that's one thing to remember, is you need to protect your players and not just see them as a number on a graph or a dollar amount. And these, again, are the key principles for MTX design. Plan things early. Plan early. Do it as early as you can with everyone on the team to get everything focused and nailed down. Compare and contrast. Look at what everyone else is doing, and then be flexible. Be ready to change your plan because something will happen, and then be ready to adapt. Once you've found a plan that you think may be perfect, don't just sit with it. Keep building on it, keep experimenting, keep trying to find that next great thing. And then finally, Unity is here. Unity is your ally. Unity is here to do what we can to let you fulfill your dreams, let you make the game you want to, and build the most successful one. Our job is to make sure that you can make the great games. And I'm always happy when people can come back and say, oh, Unity's done this for our game, or Unity's doing this for that game. It's a great thing. And just always remember that we're here to help in any way we can. And I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to speak. This was great, and I love sharing this information. Feel free to reach out to me at any of these links. There's my email, LinkedIn, and my Twitter. Feel free to reach out to me at any chance. And if you want to talk about game design, if you want to talk about anything, just let me know. And yeah, that's great. So thank you very much for the opportunity.